Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here on our YouTube channel. Of course, we're putting a special video together here for you just to give you an update on the potentially high impact winter storm that's going to be impacting not only us here in the Mid-Atlantic, but also a good chunk of the country. I mean, this winter storm has huge, wide-reaching impacts. It's going to be putting a lot of real estate at risk as it comes across the country this weekend. So the system you see here that I just showed you, actually, let me swing back the other way. You see this is not the storm. This is just going to produce some snow showers over western Pennsylvania today. Might get a flurry from that this evening, but that's nothing to worry about. So the actual storm, a key ingredient of it is out here. You see that swirl west of California? So what's going to happen is the northern branch of the jet stream, this is how this is going to play out, is going to pick up this energy and carry it across the country, and we're going to get a phasing of the northern and southern branch of the jet stream, which is going to produce a much bigger storm on the East Coast. And as that storm develops, we're looking at a huge ice storm across the central part of the United States, of which could even go eastward into the southern Appalachians. So this is the jet stream. And what's really impressive about this storm is where the origin of a lot of the moisture is coming from. So a lot of the snow that's going to fall this weekend has origins not from the Gulf, which normally we see. It's actually coming from the Eastern Pacific. So you see that strong jet that's just bringing in all this moisture into the eastern United States, and it's running all that moisture right into a very intense and deep layered Arctic air mass that's settling across the central United States. So this is not a very common setup. It's rather unique. And because of that, this makes this storm a little bit more difficult to forecast for. But as we go through time, you see that jet stream literally from the Eastern Pacific just firing right towards the Mid-Atlantic. So imagine a hose and you're spraying it right into some super cold air, and what happens? You get a lot of wintry precipitation like ice, you get snow. That's what's happening in the atmosphere with this particular storm. So this is where we're at in the forecasting process. You know, yesterday we were in that 4 to 6 day range where we ask ourselves, are we in a pattern that's ripe for a winter storm around here? Yes, we are. Now we're kind of getting into the next phase of the forecast. Around 4, even 5 days out, you can start talking about possible scenarios. So there's one scenario that we're really honing in on, well, at least a couple. And then as we get 2 to 3 days out from the event, so I'm talking about tomorrow and Friday, that's when we can really get more specific on timing, how this storm is going to play out. And the day before, and even Friday itself, we're going to be talking about specific impacts, which includes how much snow is going to fall, what other impacts are going to be present with this storm as it moves through the area. So this is the Thursday system. Again, not a big deal. Will actually be mild tomorrow in the low 40s. So this is that Arctic high. It's settling south across much of the central United States, and all of that moisture that I was talking about associated with the jet, well, that's running into this Arctic high, and we're seeing a lot of mixed precipitation breakout. So you see the Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, there could be just a huge ice storm down here. We're talking about ice accretion over ½ an inch, maybe even approaching 3/4 of an inch. Worst case scenario, an inch possible. That's incredible weight on power lines and trees. So no doubt we're going to see some power outages because of that, and very next to impossible travel conditions. On the northern side of it, we'll see some snow. So a very extensive area from the southwest all the way to the east coast. We're seeing a precipitation shield. Very, very impressive. So as we go through late Saturday into Sunday, a lot of that moisture is going to move our direction, and at the same time, we're going to get another area of low pressure that develops off the coast. So this is a classic setup for snow, for accumulating snow, for plowable snow in the Mid-Atlantic. So we're right here. So in the blue, that's where we're looking at snow, and the pink is where we're looking at ice. So this is the general area that's favored, at least as it stands now, to see some of the heaviest snow from this storm. So that kind of puts us in the bullseye. Now, what is uncertain is if this storm is stronger than what's being modeled, that warm nose could come in off the Atlantic and actually change us over to a period of sleet. I would not be surprised to see a period of mixing with this storm during the height of it on Sunday. So that's another thing that we have to factor in here. It's possible we remain all snow, and honestly that might be better because the sleet's just going to make it heavier to shovel. So as we go through Sunday night into Monday, we're still looking at some snow around here, but the heaviest is off to the east, and this becomes a storm as it heads off into the Canadian Maritimes and portions of New England. But this could be a long duration event. We're talking about starting up late Saturday night after 2 a.m., continuing through all of Sunday, and ending Monday afternoon. So that's a long duration event. That's another reason why we think we could see some heavier snow amounts from this particular storm. But it's still 4 to 5 days away. We can still see some change, either in a worse direction or in a better direction, depending on how you look at it. But this is really what we're closing in on as far as the timetable for this storm. Looks dry most of Saturday. Late Saturday night into Sunday morning is when we see this start up. Sunday's not going to be a good day. I think really Sunday evening is probably going to be the worst in terms of travel, and even lingering into Monday morning as we start to deal with the aftermath, as the worst should be off to our east at that point. But look at what happens after. I mean, these are the high temperatures the next 10 days. So whatever snow falls, it's going to stick around a while. And normally after a snow around here, we warm up above freezing in the days that follow the storm. Not this case, all right? We're going to probably be below average, well below average through the end of January. So this is an impressive cold stretch that's actually going to start with a decent size winter storm. So here's some of the snowfall projections. Again, I'm not getting specific. I'm just showing you the general swath where the heaviest snow is likely. We're just not there yet where we can nail down specific amounts. But you see it's from the Mississippi Valley all the way to the East Coast and the Mid-Atlantic kind of ground zero. Yesterday, this heavy snowfall axis was 200 miles further south over Virginia. So this still could move, but this is where it stands now, and this is entirely possible. But I would not be surprised if this were a little further north. If we get, a more suppressed track, this could actually be further south. If the storm isn't as strong, everyone would actually see less snow. So there's still a lot of uncertainty, but we're talking about it because we're within 4 to 5 days of the event, and I think it does everybody best to at least communicate the potential threat as we head into the second half of the weekend. So this is another map that this data comes directly from the National Weather Service. Basically, they compile all of the similar situations that have happened in the past and put out a probability chart on how likely it is to get into winter storm criteria winter weather, okay? And this is specifically showing the probability of exceeding 5 inches of snow in 12 hours. So in central PA, in order for us to be under a winter storm warning, we need to get 5 or more inches of snow within a 12-hour period. Okay, so this is showing the probability of that. So in orange, 50 to 80% chance. In purple here, especially south into Maryland, 80 to 100% chance that is going to verify. So that's what this is simply showing you is very high confidence that we are going to reach winter storm criteria snowfall as we head into the upcoming weekend. So normally, Tom, Steve, and I, we won't be throwing percentages at you in terms of the forecast. We take a more deterministic approach, saying this is likely to happen or this is going to happen. When you look at a probability forecast like this, it's basically a risk assessment. What's the risk here? The high risk that we're going to get into the territory of exceeding 5 inches of snow, which the National Weather Service and State College would determine winter storm criteria snowfall as we head into the second half of the weekend. So that's what's showing you. That's what I'm showing you right there. Very high confidence that we're going to see some impacts as we go into the upcoming weekend. Now, Kennedy is here with me. She has some questions I'm sure that many of you are asking. She's going to ask some questions that I may have already answered, but sometimes when you ask the question, people's ears start to listen, like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to ask him, and then they start paying attention, because I know I covered a lot there. But what's the first question you got?
Yeah, I know, Ed, with this storm just days away, a lot of viewers at home, like he mentioned, have questions. So my first question would be, what is the main threat of a storm quite like this one?
Yeah, so this one, oftentimes, already we've dealt with situations where we've had a wintry mix, or we change over to rain, or we deal with heavy rain or something like that. This looks to be predominantly snow. So we're looking at a plowable, significant snowfall. The previous events that we've had already this winter have been much, obviously, lighter events. Mm-hmm. The concern here is a heavy plowable snowfall, which, is generally 3 to 6 inches plus, which, at this point, I think is pretty likely, more likely than not, so to speak.
And I know that we've seen a lot of different stuff on social media, online, so a lot of questions there. Is there still any uncertainty with regards to how this storm will all pan out over the weekend?
So there's three couple avenues it could take. All right, so there's a small chance that this storm gets suppressed to the south and we only get a couple of inches. That's still entirely on the table. The other scenario is we get a very heavy snowfall, 3 to 6 inches plus, which I think is fairly likely. And then the other possibility, that was the most likely scenario. The third possibility, which I think is more likely than a suppressed track, is to actually get in on a wintry mix, to see some mixing come up from the southeast, because some of the guidance is actually showing Baltimore and Washington changing over to sleet. And usually when I-70 changes over to sleet, we see that change over too across portions of central PA and the lower Susquehanna Valley. So knowing what's happened before is important because it gives you an idea on how things can pan out. But right now, I'm leaning towards all snow, maybe just a brief period of sleet, but still looking at a solid likelihood of 3 to 6 inches plus with this potentially as we head into Sunday. Now, we haven't put out our snowfall map yet because we're simply not confident enough to do that yet, and usually it's not until 1 to 2 days before the event where we actually have the confidence to put something out like that. I know people like more warning, they like more warning about specifics, but if we were to give you a snow map every time snow were to come and we were to do it 4 days in advance, that's a losing strategy in forecasting. You just more often miss the mark. It's just we're not yet there to be that specific until we get 24 to 48 hours before the event.
And Eddie, you mentioned sleet. Are we talking whiteout conditions? I mean, how are the winds going to be?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, anytime you get a coastal low that strengthens as it moves off to the northeast, you can get strong winds that develop on the backside. Now, I will say, I'm glad you brought this up. What's interesting about this storm is it's going to be exceptionally cold. A lot of our accumulating snowfall events, you know, were 25 to 30 degrees, somewhere in there. This event, a good chunk of it, at least at the beginning especially, we're going to be in the teens. We're going to be in the teens. So the snow that's going to fall, that's going to come out of the sky, is going to be light and fluffy. It's not going to be the snow that you can easily pack. It's not going to be the snowman making snow. It's going to be that dry, fluffy snow. You can just blow it and just, you know, blows everywhere like dust. Now, the good thing with that, it's easy to shovel, but the wind can pick it up and blow it around very easily. So if we get 20, 25 mile an hour winds as the snow is falling, it can certainly blow around much more easily, whereas a heavy wet snow takes more wind to actually blow and drift. So that's the downside, but the upside is it's much easier to shovel.
All right, we've been talking about traveling as well today. I know a lot of people don't like to travel when it's snow, but some of us unfortunately do. So what are you saying are some of the most dangerous areas that, you know, people will, you know, come across as they hit the roads?
Yeah, so, you know, usually wide open roads are more susceptible to higher wind gusts. It's really hard to say exactly specifically when the worst time to travel is going to be. I mean, it's going to go down Saturday night into Sunday morning. But once we start getting more snow on the ground and the snowfall rates increase, which I expect to happen later Sunday into Sunday night, that's really a time frame where travel is really going to be discouraged. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody or question anybody who has to travel. I think sometimes people say, yeah, you shouldn't be out there under any circumstances. Well, people have stuff to do.
Right, exactly.
Their lives go on, and you don't know what's going on in their life, and you don't know that, hey, you know, they need to go somewhere. They need to go pick up medication. There's an emergency. You know, there's all sorts of things. So, you know, you always want to discourage travel if you can. So that's why I encourage, you know, in this type of situation, you know, a day or two ahead of time, go out and get what you need so you don't need to get it on Sunday or even Monday. Because those days, if you can, I would avoid being out on the roads. But this is nothing where I think at this point where we're looking at widespread impassable roads. But, you know, it is riskier to travel in places like that because, you know, it's tougher to drive, you know, and there's people that just don't pay attention no matter how much you tell them. They don't take the precaution. Yeah, so you could be a perfect driver, but the person down the street just is more careless. So it doesn't matter how great you drive, you can still get yourself into a situation. So just try to do it now, or try to do it. We're not telling you to go out and buy bread and toilet paper.
Yeah,
we're telling you to go out and buy stuff that you actually need, and just avoid doing it on Sunday. I know Sunday is a very popular time for grocery shopping.
Yep.
Yeah,
do a lot of my grocery shopping on Sunday.
Right, same here. So maybe try to do it a day ahead of time. And if you can wait until after Sunday, that's what I recommend. It's just, changing it's not life altering. It's just changing around your plans a little bit and avoid Sunday if you can, because that's basically the day where I think it's going to be most impactful, at least. So.
And we're talking a lot about Sunday, but I know also all eyes are also on Monday. So what will conditions look like? I mean, Monday morning, afternoon?
Yeah, so, I think at least at this point, I could see some of the heaviest snowfall rates Sunday evening into Sunday night. So crews are really going to be busy during the overnight period. But they're going to their first priority is going to be the bigger arteries, like the main roads. The back roads are going to be the secondary roads are not going to be plowed as fast as some of the more main roads. And because of that, I do think we're going to run into some issues for the Monday morning commute. So, and especially if we're talking over 6 inches of snow, I mean, we could be looking at definitely some widespread travel issues as we head into Monday morning. A lot more people are going to be on the road just because of the rush. And there is a possibility we get more than 6 inches of snow out of this. I'm not going to get into what some of those other models are showing in terms of really high amounts. I mean, anything's really on the table, but we really can't get specific on that. I know that's the bottom line for everybody. How much am I going to get? But there's really, I mean, I could tell you, but it doesn't mean anything because we just don't have the confidence to actually narrow that down quite yet. But I definitely think 3 to 6 inches plus is on the table, and it's going to really create some headaches as we head into Sunday and certainly your Monday morning commute.
All right, talk about our crews on the road as well. Yeah. When will temperatures, rise enough for plow and salt to really make a difference Sunday into Monday?
A lot of the road treatment starts to have some issues at 17 degrees. I know that's kind of a special number that I've heard. I think during the portion of the event, we're going to be a few degrees below that. So the best form of road treatment is just going to be plowing it out of the way. And the stuff that gets cleared, remember the snow gets packed down by the tires, and that's what can turn into ice. So that's something you got to think about too. And that's another reason to stay off the roads, to allow plows more time and more room to do what they need to do. But certainly looking at the wind being an issue, which could obviously blow the snow back onto the roadway. The thing is, we're not warming up enough for it to melt. We're not going to see the sun. We're not going to really see the temperatures rise above freezing that would help clear the roads. It's going to be all done by road crews to clear the snow out of the way. Because after the storm, we're not warming up at all. I mean, it looks like we're going to be in the 20s all next week.
Okay.
Again, that's pretty uncommon to have that extended period of cold after a storm. Usually within a couple days we warm up. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So whatever falls is going to be sticking around for quite a while.
Got you. So you say it's going to be cold all throughout next week. So once all this snow has stopped, I mean, what are some issues there?
Yeah, so we're, the middle part of the week, we could enter another period like what we just dealt with sub-zero wind chills. We're going to have a huge snowpack on the ground. So it's entirely possible that we see highs in the teens, wind chills 10 below zero or more. That's entirely on the table after the storm moves through. So after the storm moves through, the focus is just going to be the cold and the severity of it as we head into the second half of the week. And the interesting thing is when you look at the degree of Arctic air that's actually moving into the United States, it's the coldest air on the planet with respect to average. So with respect to where we should be on any given day, that departure from normal is going to be the most significant on this side of the globe over us. So that just kind of gives you an idea on how cold next week is going to be after the storm moves through. I know there's a lot of people that love winter weather too.
Yeah, they've been waiting for this.
Yeah, as a kid, this type of storm, if it comes to fruition, especially if it's on the real heavier side of what we're expecting. I mean, this is the stuff that kind of got me the meteorology bug. So, and plus, it's not fun for the adults, but for the kids, it can be something they remember certainly for quite a long time. So.
All right, and best way for people to prepare as we head into this snowstorm?
Yeah, just try to avoid going out on Sunday and just plan ahead. Say, hey, you need to be here on Sunday, and there's no other day you can go there. Maybe you have to help a family member or something. Just try to figure out a way to maybe do it another day or have plans to get there, or maybe go there on Saturday before it starts. Stock up on stuff that's very easy to get now. that you don't want to have to run out. Like if you're low on batteries or you need to replace something that you need next week, try to do it before then. It's just those little things. Just being proactive. I know proactive can be kind of a chore sometimes because you didn't plan on doing anything before Sunday, but it does help if you just think ahead. And again, we're not telling anybody to go out and buy bread and toilet paper, even though that's what we're accused of.
Right. I mean, you probably already have it at home.
Right. Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ed. We appreciate that breakdown. I guess time will tell what we're really going to be dealing with over the weekend.
Yeah, so we're going to really get the forecast more honed in on. We're going to get more specifics on the impacts as we head towards the end of the week. So Thursday, Friday, I think we're going to probably put out our snow map and show you our expectations on how this whole thing's going to play out.
Yeah, you guys can also stay ahead of the weather by downloading a CBS 21 weather app as well in your app store. We'll also be keeping you up to date on air and online, cbs21.com, and we appreciate you joining us. We'll see you next time.
All right. See ya.